The Hadza do not see the land as empty. To them, every tree, every hill, every shadow is alive. A place where ancestors linger, where spirits watch, where the old promises still whisper through the wind. The baobabs are the elders, their massive trunks holding the memory of centuries. The thorn bushes are the guardians, keeping the uninvited away. The wind itself is a messenger, carrying warnings and blessings alike. And woven through this living world are the old myths, stories not just told, but believed. One such tale is of Kishoka, the wind child, who gave the Hadza the gift of fire, honey, and song, and taught them to take only what they need, or risk the wind's wrath.
At first light, the hunters tread into the forest. Their bows are curved, collars of sinew tightened. Arrows rest at their backs, each handcrafted and poison-tipped. The skin cloaks worn across shoulders slip with every step, bearing ancient traces of countless hunts. They pace shoulder to shoulder, eyes tuned to the forest's soft conversation. Whispers of birds, faint cracks under hoof, the rustle of leaves signaling creatures unseen. The dogs, trained through generations, know exactly where to run, nose to earth, tail flicking as they weave through bushes. The hunters make minimal sound, gliding over earth cracked with heat, slipping past termite mounds and thorny scrub. Their toes flex, grip, and release without noise. Conversations are hushed. One hunter points, barely moving his head, toward a tree where monkeys chatter. Another whispers about honeycombs hidden in bark. Timing is everything. When to halt, when to breathe, when to loosen a bowstring. They do not walk to a destination. They walk in rhythm with the land, knowing patience feeds success.
For the Hadzabe, every step in the forest is a dialogue, between hunter and tree, hunter and wind, hunter and spirit. The land is not just where they hunt, it is where they belong. And so they move, not with the urgency of the outsider, but with the certainty of people who have hunted this way for thousands of years. The sun rises higher, casting dappled patterns of light through the leaves. Shadows shift, birds call in the upper branches, and somewhere far off, a monkey lets out a warning cry, short, sharp, urgent. The hunters freeze, every muscle listening. The lead hunter drops low, his bow arm tightening slightly. His eyes scan the canopy. He hears the flutter of wings and the quick drop of fruit hitting the forest floor. A sign, then, a subtle signal, the flick of two fingers. The younger hunter on his left nods and circles around, moving like mist through the bush. Their dogs remain still, alert, heads tilted in shared instinct. These animals do not bark. They wait, eyes on their humans, muscles coiled. A single arrow is drawn, smooth and quiet, its wooden shaft rubbed with plant-based poison, not to kill with violence, but with certainty. The Hadzabe do not waste arrows. Each one is precious, carved and sharpened by hand, fletched with feathers from birds caught seasons before. The hunter draws a breath, not deep, not shallow, just enough. His finger tightens. The bowstring releases. The arrow sails in silence, slicing through the warm air, finding its mark. A branch stirs, leaves fall. Then, silence again. The forest holds its breath. Moments later, they follow the dogs to the base of the tree. There, nestled under thick brush and hanging vines, lies their quarry. A monkey, caught clean, lifeless, still warm. The hunters do not cheer. They nod. They respect. One kneels and places a hand on the earth beside the animal, whispering a blessing of thanks to the forest. A gesture of gratitude, not dominance. The monkey is carefully wrapped in a cloth of dried bark. The young hunter slings it over his shoulder, adjusting his skin cloak to balance the weight. The meat will be shared, honored, used entirely, as it has been since the beginning. But they are not done. The day stretches forward, and so do their legs. They continue walking, following the signs of antelope hoofs, pausing to listen for the chatter of birds that often lead them toward prey. They sip water from rock hollows, chew roots to stay hydrated, and speak only when needed. Their bond is silent but unbreakable, hunter to hunter, man to dog, human to earth. Each track read beneath their feet is a paragraph in nature's language. Each breeze is a messenger. Every step, every glance, every arrow held in hand carries a legacy. And so, the hunt continues. Not as sport, not as conquest, but as life. The sun had crept to its peak, burning softly through a pale blue sky, casting sharp shadows along the dry savanna paths. The air was still, until a dog barked once, sharply. Then the silence broke. One hunter had seen it first. The blur of movement darting through low brush. A baboon, quick and cautious, its limbs pushing hard against the soil as it sprinted toward rocky ground. It was not alone. Another followed, and another. A small troop. But it was the largest male that caught their attention. Broad, fast, and fierce, its body glinting gray under the sun. Without words, the hunters sprang into motion. Bows gripped, arrows ready, they ran, not wildly, but with precision, born of rhythm and muscle memory. Their legs moved in sync with the land, dodging shrubs, ducking under branches, weaving through acacia trunks. Dogs surged ahead, panting but focused, pushing the baboons to veer toward a cluster of large stones, a trap in plain sight. The baboons scattered. One leapt to a tree, another vanished behind thorn bushes. But the large male, the one with strong shoulders and the thick mane, darted beneath a fallen rock slab to rest, unaware that it had slowed enough to be within range. The lead hunter didn't stop running. He aimed on the move. In a flash, he pulled back the string and loosed the arrow. It struck. A second hunter, younger but just as skilled, flanked the path and followed the signs. Broken twigs, dragged dust, scattered blood. His pace didn't slow until he reached the hiding spot. There, curled under the boulder's lip, the baboon lay still. The others caught up. They didn't speak at first. Breathing heavily, they stood over the animal. One of the elders broke the silence with a low hum, a kind of breath song, meant to honor the life taken. Another crouched and checked the arrow's entry point. Clean. No suffering. A good shot. A necessary kill. Then came the discussion. Quiet but purposeful. Not about victory, but about how to carry, how to return, and who would cook. The older hunter motioned with his chin, and the youngest, as tradition dictated, stepped forward to lift the animal. He didn't flinch. Instead, he bent, slid his arms beneath the legs, and hoisted the baboon onto his back. A second hunter helped tie its limbs with a long vine, looping it around his shoulders for balance. The smell of dust, fur, sweat, and sun filled the air. The dogs stood panting nearby, tails wagging, as if they, too, understood the moment's weight. The men stood tall, eyes scanning the distance toward camp. One more hunt complete, one more meal secured, but the journey home was not rushed. Every step was a return to rhythm. They walked shoulder to shoulder, speaking softly, not about conquest, but about gratitude, about the land that gave. They talked about where the next water might be, if any bee trees were nearby, and what leaves to use to prepare the meat properly. Even in success, the Hadzabe hunters remain humble. They do not take from the land, they borrow. They walk not with pride, but with purpose. The baboon, now carried upon a young hunter's back, was not a trophy. It was nourishment, a gift. And as the shadows grew longer behind them, the forest and its spirits watched in silence. Another day, another hunt, another story carried home. Beneath a low-hanging branch near the center of camp, a Hadzabe elder kneels. His back is curved from years spent hunting, climbing, walking, but his hands are steady. Worn fingers, darkened from sun and ash, reach into a woven pouch made of antelope hide. From it, he draws a few simple things. A dry stick, a smoother base of wood, and a thin bundle of dried grass, his fire set. Around him, younger men and children move about with noise and laughter, but here, in his small circle of focus, time slows. The elder places the base wood between his knees. It's smooth, dark, and burnt at one end from many past fires. He carves a shallow notch in it with a tiny piece of bone, already blackened from smoke. Into this notch, he inserts the end of his stick, his drill. Then he begins to spin it between his palms, slowly, methodically. There is no hurry. He doesn't force the fire. He invites it. The motion is circular, silent, almost musical. His palms move with practiced ease, sliding down the shaft again and again, the speed gradually increasing. His breath is slow, matching the rhythm. Small whispers of smoke rise, then vanish. Children pause their games and tiptoe near, watching quietly. The younger hunters gather too, standing in silence. They know not to interrupt. This is more than fire making. This is ceremony. As smoke thickens and the smell of scorched wood fills the air, the elder leans close and blows gently. The embers respond. A faint glow appears in the dust of the notch. Carefully, reverently, he gathers the glowing dust into the dried grass bundle, cradling it in his hands like something sacred. He leans in again and breathes. Not just air, but memory, knowledge, responsibility. The grass ignites. A thin flame catches. He lifts it and transfers it to a prepared nest of twigs, bark, and dry leaves. It crackles softly, growing like a child taking its first breath. The elder sits back, not with pride, but with calm satisfaction. The fire is alive, and with it, the heart of the Hadzabe camp is lit. One woman brings a pot. A hunter brings a haunch of meat. Children run to fetch more firewood. But still, for a moment, all eyes return to the elder. This man, with calloused hands and a quiet presence, has brought warmth, food, and story to life. Not with matches, not with tools, but with patience, tradition, and rhythm handed down through generations. This fire is not just heat. It is the soul of the Hadzabe village, born again each day through the hands of the old, and watched closely by the eyes of the young. The fire is alive now, its glow spilling over the circle of Hadzabe huts. The elder feeds it carefully, adding dry acacia wood that pops and spits as it burns. Around the flame, the hunters work fast, their knives glinting in the light as they slice thick cuts from the baboon's haunch and ribs, separating lean meat from sinew and bone. Some of the meat is skewered on long green sticks, held just high enough above the flames so the fat drips and hisses into the embers. The scent fills the air, rich, smoky, tinged with wild herbs. It drifts through the camp, pulling the children closer, their stomachs growling, their wide eyes fixed on the sizzling meat. Young hunter, elder, it smells ready. Let us eat. Elder hunter, patience. The belly waits better than the tongue burns. Not all wait. Some of the younger hunters, hunger driving them, pull small, half-cooked strips from the sticks, blowing on the steaming flesh before biting in, the juices burning their tongues but easing the day's hunger. Beside the roasting fire, a second pot bubbles. The women have added crushed wild tomatoes, forage tubers, a fistful of dried okra, and a powder made from roasted seeds. The chopped baboon meat, bones and all, goes into the pot, hissing as it meets the boiling water. The stew thickens slowly, its scent heavier, earthier, spiced by the wild herbs the women keep hidden in small woven pouches. The smells mingle in the night air, the smoky char of the roasting meat, the rich tang of the boiling stew, the faint sweetness of the herbs. It is not just food. It is a promise. Tonight, no one will sleep with an empty stomach. There are no polished plates. No metal forks clinking against ceramic bowls. No separate seats. No heads bowed over personal servings. In the Hadzabe world, food is not distributed, it is shared. Passed hand to hand, bite to bite, from one heart to another. The meal does not begin with an announcement, nor is it divided by status or wealth. It begins with respect. Flavored with forest herbs, thickened with mashed tubers, fills the air with warmth and longing. The first piece does not go to the strongest. It goes to the elders. As is custom, a young woman lifts a piece of meat with bare hands and gently places it in the outstretched palm of a gray-haired grandmother. The old woman nods, her voice raspy but firm. Eshine. Thank you. Let the ancestors see. Next are the children. Small hands reaching forward, eyes wide not just with hunger, but with joy. Each piece is held like treasure. Some eat slowly, savoring each chew. Others bite fast, then blow frantically as steam escapes. Laughter rings out as one toddler tries to steal a second bite from his sister's hand. No one scolds him. He is fed again, this time with a loving tap on his head. Now the hunters eat. Men with dried sweat on their brows, carrying the ache of distance walked, arrows drawn, targets tracked. They chew with quiet satisfaction, not boasting, not demanding. Their silence speaks the loudest. The land has provided. No one eats alone, a child unable to reap. If the women are the heartbeat of the Hadza, then the children are their echo, the living promise that the old ways will never be swallowed by time. The Hadza have no classrooms, no chalkboards, no walls to hold their young. Here, the savannah is the only school, and the lessons are written in paw prints, wind, and the calls of distant animals.
Every scalded baboon, every roasted bird, carries with it not just sustenance, but meaning. The skins that wrap their shoulders whisper of survival. The bows they hold carry the stories of those who shaped them. The village feasts under starlight while the children fall asleep, their bellies heavy, their dreams whispered by chance and satisfied hunger. The giants remain outside the firelight, guardians still, walking the boundary between myth and the rhythm of real life.
It is not loud, it is not rushed, just a steady rhythm pulsing from the center of the camp. Feet begin to move. One hunter lifts his arms and begins a dance, shoulders rolling, knees soft, each step landing like a heartbeat on the soil. The men rise slowly, grinning. One claps, then another. The children follow, their feet bare, their hands smacking the rhythm on their bellies. It becomes a full circle, a circle of motion, of music, of memory. Even the fire dances in its way, flames rising with the pulse of drums. Today, there is no hunger, no fear, no chasing, only return, only celebration, only the pure joy of knowing the land still gives, the arrows still fly true, and the people still move in harmony.
They survive by knowing the land intimately. They know which plants cure snakebite, which roots are edible and which burn their tongues. They read animal tracks like a story, each hoofprint a sentence, each broken twig a paragraph. When rain threatens, they recognize the smell of petrichor rising from heated soil and take shelter beneath banana palms or baobabs, waiting until the sky calms again. Fire is carried in carved gourd flasks filled with charred tinder, next to flints forged from heated stone, always ready, always guarded. At midday they stop in the shade, some near termite hills or rock outcrops, and prepare the meal. Birds are roasted over embers. Honey is drizzled over strips of meat. Seeds ground into paste and spread as a dip. They eat quietly, savoring each bite, chewing slowly. They share pieces with the children when they return. Smaller cuts given first, a sign of respect and care. Words shared during the meal are gentle jokes, questions about the next water point, laughter remembering a previous hunt.
In the Hadzabe world, youth are not merely observers. From the moment a boy can walk barefoot across thorny savanna paths without crying, he becomes part of the rhythm, the unspoken cycle of life that connects the past to the present, and the present to the hunt. At first, the young boys carry no bows, only sticks, bent branches sharpened with fire-charred stones, or toy arrows carved under the watchful eye of a father or elder brother. They imitate what they see, crouching in the bush, squinting toward invisible prey, mimicking the whistle hunters make when tracking silently. Their games are not games. They are training, encoded in joy. By age 7 or 8, a boy can name every tree in the valley. He knows which leaves sting and which ones soothe. He knows how to walk without sound, how to step into sand and read the faint trail of a duiker or a baboon. He listens when elders talk by firelight. Not once, not twice, every night. Stories are passed down like sharpened blades, polished smooth through repetition. When the hunters prepare for the day's journey, it is the young ones who follow, running behind with eager faces and short bows slung across slim shoulders. They don't always join the full hunt, but they are allowed to watch, to carry wood, to tend dogs, to track movement in the distance. Every shadow is a lesson. Every silence is a moment to learn. The first kill of a young Hadzabe boy is not celebrated with noise, but with nods of approval. Perhaps it is a small bird, caught with a quick shot. Perhaps it is a rodent flushed from the brush. But in that moment, he steps across an invisible line, from boy to hunter. His elders give him space to speak of how he saw it, how he tracked it, how the arrow flew. He is listened to, not as a child, but as a brother. But the role of youth is not just in the bush. In the camp, they help prepare the meat. They gather firewood. They carry water. They sit beside the women, learning which roots to boil, which herbs to chew for stomach aches, which mushrooms feed and which ones kill. They are taught by doing, by failing, by doing again. They are told, you cannot rush a hunt. You cannot speak louder than the wind. You cannot eat without sharing. These are not just rules. They are philosophies. Among the Hadzabe, a young man's strength is not in how fast he runs, or how straight he shoots, but how closely he watches, how quietly he learns, how humbly he grows. Elders watch the youth carefully, not with pressure, but with patience. They know that time and experience are better teachers than fear. When a young hunter returns empty-handed, no one mocks him. They say, the land was quiet today, and he tries again tomorrow. As the boys grow, they are given responsibility. Not all become great hunters. Some become skilled at finding honey. Others at digging roots. Some are quiet thinkers who remember stories with perfect clarity. All are needed. All are valued. And so the fire is passed. Not in ceremony, but in daily life. From hand to hand. From silence to speech. From one heartbeat to the next. The role of the youth in Hadzabe hunting culture is not just to follow, but to inherit. To become the next voice in the circle. The next footstep on the path. The next shadow behind the arrow. Because for the Hadzabe, youth is not the future. Youth is the continuity of now. Among the Hadzabe, growing older is not just measured in years. It is marked by steps, small, patient, intentional, taken through the wilderness of survival, learning, and respect. There are no written tests, no certificates, no ranks. The forest is the classroom, and the rhythm of the land is the teacher. The transition from boy to man doesn't arrive with a single ceremony, but through a series of moments, each one shaping the mind, the spirit, and the body. It may begin the day a boy tracks an animal alone for the first time. Or when his father lets him carry a real arrowhead instead of a carved toy. Or when he's trusted to wake before dawn and join the hunters without being asked. Each task given to a youth is like a doorway. Open it with care, walk through with humility, and more will open. But walk with pride, and the path closes. Older men teach without raising their voices. They teach by example. They teach with silence, with the quiet nod after a good decision, the patient stare when one acts too soon. This is how boys learn to hold their place in the hunt, to recognize bird calls, to distinguish fresh prints from old. This is how they learn to lead without shouting, to provide without praise. And when the time comes, when a young man has hunted not just to kill, but to feed, when he has listened more than he has spoken, when he begins to protect the younger children, and give his share to the elders first, then, without ceremony, he is called brother, and not boy. That word alone is the right. It means, you have joined the circle. You carry the flame. Among the Hadzabe, growing older is not just measured in years. It is marked by steps, small, patient, intentional, taken through the wilderness of survival, learning, and respect. There are no written tests, no certificates, no ranks. The forest is the classroom, and the rhythm of the land is the teacher. The transition from boy to man doesn't arrive with a single ceremony, but through a series of moments, each one shaping the mind, the spirit, and the body. It may begin the day a boy tracks an animal alone for the first time, or when his father lets him carry a real arrowhead instead of a carved toy, or when he's trusted to wake before dawn and join the hunters without being asked. Each task given to a youth is like a doorway. Open it with care, walk through with humility, and more will open. But walk with pride, and the path closes. Older men teach without raising their voices. They teach by example. They teach with silence, with the quiet nod after a good decision, the patient stare when one acts too soon. This is how boys learn to hold their place in the hunt, to recognize bird calls, to distinguish fresh prints from old. This is how they learn to lead without shouting, to provide without praise. And when the time comes, when a young man has hunted not just to kill, but to feed, when he has listened more than he has spoken, when he begins to protect the younger children, and give his share to the elders first, then, without ceremony, he is called brother, and not boy. That word alone is the right. It means, you have joined the circle. You carry the flame. Among the Hadzabe, age is not a burden, it is a crown. The elders do not command with shouts or impose through fear. They do not sit above the people, nor away from them. They sit among them, often quietly, watching, listening, remembering. Their faces are maps, drawn with lines of sun and wind and years of walking barefoot across the land. Their eyes, sharp still, have seen seasons of hunger, floods, lion tracks, and laughter that echoed through the valley when rains returned. They remember the old trees before they were struck by lightning. They remember the names of children who never grew up. They carry both sorrow and song in the same breath. Elders do not hunt anymore. Not with bows, not with speed. But their hands are always full, with memory, with tools, with knowledge. They are the ones who teach the youth how to read the earth, how to find water when there is none, how to tell if a snake's track is fresh, how to see birds as messengers instead of noise. They correct without anger. They guide without force. Their authority comes not from what they say, but from how long they have listened. At dusk, they become the keepers of fire. When the younger ones sit cross-legged, chewing on roots or roasted meat, it is the elders who begin to speak. Not loudly, not in grand speeches, just stories, like smoke, rising slowly into the evening sky. Stories of trickster animals and spirits that live in the trees. Stories of the time before the village was here. Of great droughts and hunts that lasted days. Of dreams that told them where honey would drip next. Each word is part of an unbroken chain, passed from tongue to tongue, mind to mind, stronger than anything carved in stone. The women elders sit by the fire with herbs in their baskets and memory in their fingers. They know which leaf cools fever, which bark soothes the wound. They guide births, tend wounds, and remember every name, even those who passed too soon. They sing while they grind seeds. They hum when they braid the girl's hair. They are the heartbeat of the home. No one questions an elder's word, not because they demand obedience, but because they have lived long enough to see what time hides. And when decisions must be made, where to move, when to hunt, how to settle a dispute, the people do not vote or shout. They turn to the elders. They wait, and when one speaks, everyone listens. As the stars begin to blink into the Yaida sky and the coolness of night pushes the smoke lower, the Hadzabe gather around the fire. The hunt is done. The food has been shared. The dogs lie sleeping beside the ashes. But the day is not yet over, because the stories have not yet been told. The elders sit close to the fire, their eyes catching the glow like embers themselves. Their voices are soft, never rushed. They do not begin until the night is fully quiet, until the crackle of burning wood is the only sound, and the children have leaned forward, their faces lit orange by flame. A boy shifts beside his father. A girl wraps her fingers around her mother's knee. All eyes turn toward one old man, the oldest in the group. His beard is white like ash. His voice is deep but slow, not because of weakness, but because each word carries